Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. Very interesting discussion tonight. We're talking with Bernard Childress, Executive Director of the TSSAA, talking about in sports, our parents sometimes just getting out of control. There is actually now a shortage of referees because, in part, they don't want to put up with the parental behavior. And I've got some comments on Twitter I'm going to read to you in a moment. And we may need you to send out a letter about Twitter. Okay. But I wanted to ask you, what are some examples of what you've seen? What have you been dealing with lately? Okay.
Well, it's interesting that you would say that because I just mentioned to you, we just finished an appeal today. We probably in the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple of situations where fans have actually gone onto the floor when we've had unsportsmanlike incidents that have occurred. And I always said, and I said to coaches, and I would encourage anyone when you're at a ball game, and this, it's been really, really good, the position that I'm in, because, when we go to games, we're not looking at, people think we are, but we're not looking at points on the scoreboard, because we define winning a totally different way than some others. Coaches even, we're trying to teach our coaches, don't be a transitional coach where everything is about you got to make this transition, you got to change this, because we got to worry about what the score is at the end of the ball game. We want you to be a transformational coach where you are working with these kids from the inside out, and you are trying to teach them to be outstanding individuals in life. That's what educational athletics is all about. But with parents seeing that and they feeling like we got to win, and winning to them is totally different from ours. It's about what the score is. When you have situations, and we've had a couple unfortunate situations within the last 2 weeks that we've had to deal with, where kids have gotten in the heat of battle. It happens. So unfortunately it happens, where they've gotten into arguments on the floor in basketball, and if they would just leave it there and allow the officials to do what they're trained to do, allow the coaches, and our coaches in every one of these situations have been outstanding in separating these young people and getting them, and calming them down. But then you look up, and then here comes the parents, the fans on the floor. That's what causes the problems, and it causes a serious problems where even today, where we were dealing with a situation where parents came onto the floor, even an adult who struck a child, and I think and the police get involved, and so then it gets totally out of control. What ends up happening, we're an organization of schools, we end up having to penalize the school and the program. So now the parent or the fan, they need to understand that our administrators know, because our bylaws state that in every situation, the administrators in the schools, regardless of whether you're at home or on the road, you're responsible for your fans. So when your fans act in an unsportsmanlike manner, what happens? We end up having to penalize the program.
Wow. And now, see, when I saw this, when I read this letter, I'm thinking you're talking about people just kind of yelling, mouthing off at the refs. Saying you're wearing your glasses or whatever they say. And
those things happen also.
And that would be bad. But boy, what you're talking about there is even worse. Yeah, they're running onto the court. Absolutely.
And we tell our officials when we're dealing with, and that's one thing that our supervisor and signing officer in the local area says, that you can't have rabbit ears. You've got to get out there and you've got to call the game, and you've got to do the very best job that you can do. You owe it to those young people on the floor to call the game and not worry about what's being said to you. But now, for some reason, there are a lot of people that feel like if something happens on the court and I don't like it, I bought a ticket, I have a right to go out there and even question the official, or question them, even when they go into the locker rooms after the game or halftime. Young people, experienced officials will handle that, but I'm telling you, the ones 30 and under, they will not. And even if they start, 2 years later they said, I'm finished, I'm not putting up with this, I don't have to. They have too many other things to do. So we just wanted, in that letter, we wanted fans and parents to understand that you're hurting your child. You cannot say, when children see adults screaming at adults, that they are having fun if it's my parents screaming at someone else, or when I watch my parent being escorted out of a gym by the police in handcuffs because they have said something out of the way, that child's not having fun.
That's not. There's nothing good about that.
That's
at all.
nothing good.
All right, let's go to the phones here. Let's go to Taylor. Hello, Taylor.
Good evening, Mr. Childress. Nice to have you on here, but I'm sorry it's such a program like this is even needed. But the way things are going, I'm not at all surprised. I don't have kids in school anymore, but I'm sympathetic with the schools, the sports, the whole thing. I've got one suggestion that maybe the TSSAA could get a couple of the well-known Titan players and maybe some other, maybe a Vandy basketball player, to make some public service announcements to air. You wouldn't want to do it during a National Titans game, but either before or right after the game. Kind of, I don't know if it's a scolding or what would be the right terminology, but something that someone that those kids might look up to, and the parents as well, and get the message that you're trying to convey here. But I wish you well, but I've got sad hopes for a whole lot of things going on in this community. I thought we were better than this, but it seems to be getting worse. Thank you for your service.
Well, Taylor, that's a great suggestion, and I can tell you that we have an outstanding relationship with the Titans. We are right now we're implementing a program, a statewide program, our Inside Out initiative, where we are trying to teach character education, and we've had basically 2 training sessions. We started with the superintendents, and now and then we had principals and athletic directors. On the 25th of February, we are bringing in student athletes, athletic directors again, and anyone in communities from Memphis to Bristol to teach character education and try to make sure that we understand that we are trying to transform lives. The Titans have been wonderful, and that's a great suggestion. I'll make sure that I bring that up in our next meeting, because they will do anything that they can to change the culture of high school athletics. They have been a great partner for us. We couldn't do this Inside Out initiative without them. They are actually funding the entire program, the NFL Foundation and the Titan Foundation, and working with us because they realize that we've got to change the definition at the high school level of winning, and that's what it's all about.
That's a fascinating goal. Yeah. Change the definition at the high school level of winning. We're a culture that's so obsessed with winning. You look at the Titans, you look at these professional sports, and you made the point, well, yeah, they are paid lots of money.
Absolutely.
It's a totally different situation, but you can understand how it's transported down.
Absolutely.
To even, you know, pee-wee basketball. You know, it goes way down. And so I think that's right. It needs to be a new definition of a successful outing. Right? But even the kids and I think the parents don't want they want their kids to be, you know, happy, and so then they get so into it, and it's just, the culture needs to have this discussion.
Well, you know, happiness for a child participating in athletics is about having fun. And if they're not having fun, they're not going to do it. But there's so many positives, and we know when you look at studies that said that kids that participate in athletics throughout their high school career, they attend school more often. They score higher on the standardized tests, the ACT and the ACT. Graduation ratios go up. These are the kids that go on to college and graduate and come back, and then they are successful in our communities. That's winning to us. Winning now, and you don't have to worry about trying to push a kid into being competitive when they're playing sports. It's built in. They learn to be competitive. So I think when parents realize you don't have to do that, And again, when you read all of this and you go to national meetings, and there was a study several years ago, Ben, that said that the #1 reason that kids gave, and I always said, if you don't believe some of this, ask your child. They're not going to lie to you. They'll tell you the truth. But the #1 reason kids gave, as far as the things that they hated about sports at our level, was the ride home with their parents after the game.
Oh, no.
So these are the things that we've got to change.
Well, that's fascinating. Okay. And I think, I mean, it's interesting to hear Taylor say, I'm concerned about our culture in many different ways. And in this is kind of a hardening of our culture in a way. I think that would be the concern Taylor is kind of feeling. There are others who feel like it's a softening, and that, you know, we're giving out participation trophies, and we've got to teach kids how to win, and it's this, we're too soft or whatever. I mean, it's kind of a fascinating philosophical sort of debate, but what do you think about?
Well, when this letter first came out, I was on a different show in another part of the state, and I did get a call from a couple of parents actually, and asked me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" And they said, "You will ruin high school sports in the state of Tennessee if you decide to continue this Inside Out initiative with the Titans." And I said, "You're exactly the individuals that we need to be talking to. You know, we've got to change the culture. We've got to get back to our kids having fun. It's a game. You know, you play games to have fun. And I don't care what level they are. I've even had professional coaches that said to me, as much money as those guys and girls make at the professional level, if they stop having fun, they even quit at that level."
Wow. All right, let's go to Ann. Hello, Ann?
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, I've tuned in late, so I didn't get the name and the organization your panelist is with, but I've just spent a very difficult season with high school football, and my concern was with a coach that was as unprofessional as you can get. And I base that on having coached myself 20 years in girls athletics and having worked in the metro school system at the high school level for 20 years and having been a parent and a grandparent. And the culture does need to change, and it's with our parents, but it's also with the adults that deal with our students. So I'm compelling this gentleman, who I would stand behind 150 times, to not leave out the charter system that is engulfing our youth right now, because I don't know exactly what organization he's with, because I missed the beginning of the show.
Okay.
But our youth is very involved in our charter system, and the charter system is employing a great deal of adults that are affecting our teenagers, and we can't leave those students out as well.
I want to broaden it out.
I'll continue to listen.
Well, thank you for your call. Ann wants to broaden it out. This is Bernard Childress with the Tennessee Secondary School Athletic Association, known as the TSSAA.
Yeah, and Ann, let me say, we do have charter schools in our organization. We have several charter schools in our organization. We are the governing body for middle school and high school sports in the state of Tennessee, but we do not, although we provide education opportunities for our coaches, we do not hire or fire coaches. That's totally left up to the local board of education. For example, in independent schools, it's left up to the heads of schools to hire their coaches. But we do have educational programs for them, and we do try to teach them, you know. And I always say, if you go to a game and you watch the game, and you watch it closely, and you're not concerned about who wins or loses, you watch the coach. You sit back and watch the coach themselves, and ever how the coach acts, those fans are going to act the same way, and those student athletes are going to act the same way. And coaches have to realize that they are role models. They are role models, and they have to do the right things. And because there's a young person that's going to do exactly, you can say it all you want to, do what I say, not what I do. That's not how young people operate. They're going to do exactly what they see you do. And coaches need to realize that.
Would you say, you wrote this letter, was it more geared toward football or basketball? Is there one sport that causes more of a concern for you than another, or all equal?
Oh, well, I mean, you can look at numbers. We normally have a higher number of officials in, football and basketball. But probably for us here in Tennessee, the sport that we are really, really short in officials is soccer. We are having a very difficult time, even if we encourage young people to get involved and officiate soccer. Retention is a problem in that particular sport. But yeah, all of them are concerned. Probably the only one that we see some rise in is volleyball. Those officials are away from, up on the stand, and they're away from a lot of the abuse that some other officials take. But all of our sports are concerned. Thank goodness we really took an active role in trying to turn this around 2 years ago, and we see our numbers coming back up. It's not even close to the 5,900 that we had before we did this, but we're doing things like trying to identify young people, and even in schools. We have a student officials program now where all they have to do, we don't even charge them a registration fee. Mm-hmm. All they have to do is have the principal of the school to give them a letter of recommendation, to give them a positive recommendation. We will get them with a supervisor and get them in their local area and try to train them with an experienced official. We don't give them varsity contests, we give them junior varsity games, but just trying to encourage them to give back to the game. Those are the ones that do not need to be abused by fans.
Right. Because, yeah, that's exactly right. All right. If you want to call, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We'll take a break, and I'm going to ask you some more examples of kind of what you've seen when we come back. And I'm also going to read some comments from Twitter. All right, we'll take a break. Be back right after this.